when I see the police, I'm kind of like, kind of terrified a little bit. Y'all basically punished me twice for the same crime. Y'all falsely accused me, and then y'all don't got no program set up for me when I get out, so I feel like it's a form of double jeopardy.
Imagine if you've spent 3 decades behind bars, what are you gonna have to retire with? How much would I have to pay you to miss out on hugging your child every day?
I want to have something to leave to my children. We owe it to people that have been wrongfully convicted to not merely allow them to walk with a crutch, but to walk with stable legs.
In the United States, the laws for compensating the wrongly convicted vary drastically by state, and some states don't have any laws whatsoever. For people who live in those states, reintegration back into society after exoneration is especially difficult, if not impossible. Kansas recently passed compensation legislation. We went to Hutchinson, Kansas to meet with Floyd Bledsoe, who was unjustly incarcerated for 16 years. If his application is successful, Floyd will become one of the first people to be compensated by the state.
Good morning, Floyd.
Good morning. How are you?
How you doing?
Good, good.
Got some morning coffee?
Yes. This morning I woke up and my ducks were quacking, and then I heard a different quack. I was like, what in the world is that? And there was a third duck wandering around against the fence. So I don't know where it came from, but now I got 3 ducks.
Floyd was convicted of the murder, sexual assault, and kidnapping of his 14-year-old sister-in-law. His brother Tom initially confessed to the crimes, but later recanted and placed the blame on Floyd. Despite no DNA evidence tying him to the crime, Floyd was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. He was exonerated after Tom committed suicide in 2015, leaving behind a confession note giving details of the killing that until then remained a mystery. Floyd served 16 years in prison and has yet to receive any compensation from the state.
The bird's so happy. Actually, I don't think I've ever really seen that before.
Good little bird.
Yeah, wow.
This is one that I did as a practice piece.
So it doesn't look like a practice piece at all. So you paint predominantly animals.
Yes. I grew up on 160 acres, and the animals were my best friends. That was one thing that always gave me peace when I was in prison. And that's why I always did wildlife or scenery pictures, was because that's where I knew peace came from.
How did you feel going through such a unjust situation?
That first year that I was away from my boys, that was the most miserable time I've ever done. I missed Thanksgiving, I missed Christmas with them. And that Christmas Eve, I went to call home. And they were like, it's Floyd, do we want to accept? And they hung up the phone. That was the loudest click I had ever heard in my entire life. And it broke me. Nothing will ever give me back that 16 years. Nothing.
You weren't even given the same compensations that parolees get.
Right.
And you were exonerated.
Right.
Can you talk a bit about kind of that dynamic?
If I would have completed my prison time, I would have got $100 in gate cash. When I got out, the only people that helped me was my attorneys.
So when you were getting out, it was clear that there was no social networks that were provided.
There's nobody there to give you financial assistance through the state. There's nobody there to help you with the mental transition of 16 years of prison to freedom. There's nobody to ease that burden.
One of the attorneys who helped Floyd transition back to civilian life was Tricia Bushnell.
Are we? Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Doing good. You have a nice office here.
Thank you. Welcome to the space. If you see all these files up on the wall, these are all folks who have applied and are hoping that we will take their case and would like assistance. Right now on our wait list, there's about 600 people.
600 still is an incredible undertaking.
It is and it isn't. They estimate about 5% of people who are incarcerated are innocent. So in our 5 states, that's about 5,000 people. So we have 600 people on our wait list, which is significantly fewer, right, than 5,000 people.
One of the things that I found is that exonerees actually have less support than parolees who actually committed a crime. Can you speak about that?
Yes. If you are exonerated, the state then is just done. It's as if your house burned down. You have no furniture, no clothing, no job history, no residential history. It's as if you didn't exist for those years, and now you want to come into the world without job skills and training and be successful. And for many people, it's just not possible.
In terms of compensation legislation, can you tell us a bit about how it works federally?
So on the federal level, there's a system where individuals can apply to receive compensation, but only if they've been convicted of federal crimes. But for everyone else who's in a different state, they're convicted of a state crime, it's very different. It depends on what their state law is, whether or not they'll be entitled to any money for the years they spent wrongfully incarcerated. Unfortunately, in some states, people aren't entitled to any money at all. There are also states who try to look at things to base things off the minimum wage. And again, it's just absolutely wholly underappreciating what the purpose of the law is. It's not to say, oh, here's just some money. It's to say, how do we make you whole? You know, you missed out on training opportunities, education opportunities, advancement in your career, paying into Social Security, right? And if you haven't paid into Social Security for a certain number of years, you're not entitled to collect it.
In May of this year, Kansas passed compensation legislation that is widely considered to be the nation's gold standard. It offers $65,000 per year of wrongful imprisonment, $25,000 per year spent on parole, as well as other forms of assistance. It became the 33rd state to pass this kind of legislation in the U.S., but compensation packages vastly differ by state. Wisconsin, for example, offers only $5,000 per year of incarceration, with a cap of $25,000 regardless of time served, while others like Missouri will only compensate if the exoneration was based on DNA evidence. 17 states remain without any type of compensation whatsoever, states like Indiana.
We coming up on the elementary I attended. I haven't just visit the neighborhood since I've been out in over 20-some years. I got a lot of fond memories of the neighborhood I grew up in.
You intend on staying in Gary?
Eventually I want to relocate because of the situation centered around my wrongful conviction, and I just got bad memories from that situation.
And before you were incarcerated, what were your aspirations growing up in Gary?
I really thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. In my mind, I thought that, yeah. Right there was the baseball field we used.
Right over there?
Yeah, right over there. My baseball dream started right here, yeah. And if you hit the ball past our little convenience store, that was considered your home run. So this was our little local fields of dreams, I guess you want to say. Yeah.
Timmy was convicted of a string of armed robberies that culminated in murder in 1992. Despite having an alibi and no forensic evidence linking Timmy to the crime, 2 of the 6 robbery victims picked him out of a lineup. He was convicted by a jury and sentenced to 60 years in prison. He served 24 before he was granted a new trial and exonerated on the basis of faulty eyewitness statements and official misconduct by the police. But since he was convicted in Indiana, he can't apply to the state for money that would begin to allow him to make up for the 24 years of his life that he lost.
What struggles did you face trying to reintegrate into society?
In my state, there's no program set up. You out on your own. I probably had $300 to my name, which was accumulated through working in the prison, and that's all I had to come out to.
And so they actually handed you that money?
Actually, that money wasn't handed to me. It was mailed to me 2 months after my release.
Wow. So if you had no family or anyone to help you, you literally weren't even given the money that you worked for?
Literally, I'd be living on the streets.
Wow. And in terms of living situations, how did you reintegrate?
I had to stay with my sister and her husband, which I'm still staying with today. I don't make nothing but $9 an hour. I don't got Social Security. I don't got no type of retirement plan set up. So my other recourse is to work until I'm 90 years old. It's not a good feeling when your state is one of those states that don't got a compensation bill. It feel like they living in the Stone Ages. We used to walk from my neighborhood, walk out here and swim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's strange to see it then came to a point like this, kind of disheartened.
Yeah.
I guess a lot has changed.
At this time, Timmy's only option for recourse is civil action, which can take years to complete. And despite earning 2 degrees in prison, re-entering the workforce has been difficult for him because his conviction remains visible on his record. While he might be able to file to expunge his criminal record now that his conviction has been set aside, Timmy cannot do that because it would compel police agencies to destroy records that might be central to a civil case.
Hello there.
So this is Khalil, this
Nice
is
to meet
Sheila,
you guys.
and this is
Sheila?
And Dan.
Akil, nice to meet you. Dan, Akil, nice to meet you guys.
Pick up some books I read during my incarceration.
Oh, wow.
It's one of my favorite books, I Promise of Justice. I probably read that book like 5 or 6 times during my incarceration. It helped me out a lot. I think it's got waterlogged. These some papers I wrote when I was in college.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's probably one of the first articles was did.
Oh, the freedom fighter.
That was their nickname.
You guys were actually with Timmy the day that the crimes were actually committed, correct?
Yes, yes. When something happens like that, it's just blow your mind because you're seeing an innocent person, and he's with us. So I took it real personal because I'm thinking that could have been me.
To me, it seemed like they was not seeking the truth, and the truth was right there. He wasn't there for my wedding. I wanted him to walk me down the aisle. So it's just those special moments that the family miss, and he missed.
How much would compensation legislation impact your family?
Wow, that would be huge. You're gonna take 26 years with someone, you're gonna come out and tell them, survive. Survive doing what? What am I supposed to sleep at? What am I supposed to eat? So this man came out without a support system, what he's supposed to do?
It's like they did you a favor, we let you out. That's how I look at it.
A lot of things we had to show him and teach him how to do a lot of things, how to use a tablet, how to use his phone. How you think he feel? I'm sure he feel like really small. So much changed while he was sitting there in prison. So
It's like equivalent to being dropped in a foreign country and you don't know the culture.
As Timmy fights for the laws to be changed in Indiana, back in Kansas, Floyd has begun the process which could grant him life-changing compensation, which, if successful, would make him one of the first people to be compensated by the state. He's remarried with 2 young sons and a baby girl on the way.
So you said a friend of yours owns this property?
Yeah, actually, I came to buy this boat.
That one?
Yeah, as a project boat, and fell in love with this place. They're gonna let me make payments on it and buy it.
Oh wow! So you're gonna
Yeah.
own this?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about leaving Kansas?
No. What a few people did, I won't allow to dictate my love for the state. You may still have the scar of 16 years of prison, but you don't have to live in that pain and that hurt and that anguish and that bitterness. You know, it took me, years to understand what forgiveness is. Does that mean that the 7 deputies and the county attorney shouldn't be held accountable? No, because accountability is not hinged upon forgiveness. Those are 2 separate things. This happened, and I'm going to choose to live above it and beyond it.
If successful, Floyd will receive more than $1 million in compensation, as well as medical and social services. As of October, Kansas's Attorney General is opposing Floyd's compensation claim. His lawyers have filed a petition with the District Court of Shawnee County to demand the state provide compensation.
I don't think there's any amount of money they could pay you or me to go through what he went through. But certainly there is power in us as a society, as a state, saying we see you were harmed and we're gonna do what we can to make it right.
No amount of money can restore the years you done lost. It really ain't about the money, it's just really about holding people accountable for their actions.
All I want for myself or anybody else is that opportunity to have a life without worrying about the past keeping me down.